own something by this person and touch it, and also we would be maybe slightly abhorred or disgusted at touching objects that we thought belonged to someone with evil essence. So, I think this idea of essential thinking has a lot of power in explaining certain behaviors towards sentimental objects. It also explains peculiar human obsession with objects for memorabilia, wanting to own something that somebody has worn or belonged to somebody. And in the bizarre case of transplanted memories, I think it explains why 1/5 of transplant patients think that they've inherited some of the psychological characteristics of their donor. Sentimental objects. Well, this is a meeting of entrances and exits, and of course, funerals. On the right here, we have examples of Victorian mourning jewellery. This was a popular jewellery that was made basically out of the hair or the nail clippings of the deceased, and you could wear this fashioned into a rather fetching piece of jewellery. And it was the fashion in Victorian era. Technology's moved on again. You can actually go to London. I think it's, is it Guy's or Thomas's? It's Guy's, isn't it? It's one of these hospitals. If there's two partners, they can go in and they have their molar teeth removed, one of each. They can grow it up in a medium to produce a disc, as you can see there, literally of the living bone tissue, that then can be fashioned into a ring. And I think it's inscribed always and forever. The beautiful thing is that you can have your spouse wrapped around your little finger for life. This idea of wanting to have this intimate kind of connection to somebody is what this is getting at. Angelina Jolie, when she married Billy Bob Thornton, they had vials of each other's blood made into little pendants that you can wear. I don't know what happened since she's married Brad Pitt, but interesting. Where do these objects come from? What is the beginnings of sentimentality towards objects? Well, this is an area, if you read The Guardian today, we published a study just out this week. We were studying these attachment objects in children, okay? These are the blankets and the teddy bears that children become very emotionally attached to. It's a particularly Western phenomenon, okay? About 70% of children form this. You don't find them very often in Japan or China. And I think the best explanation is something to do with sleeping practices. Because in China and Japan, the children will sleep with the mother right up into late childhood. Whereas in the West, of course, we tend to separate them out around about 1 year. So I think what's happening in this situation is that the child, on being separated, is probably a little distressed and will self-soothe or self-comfort with whatever is in the cot, which are typically blankets and soft toys. Now, this may start off as a pure kind of sensory thing, the smell or the texture. But certainly the children I've seen, when I'm talking to them at 2.5, 3 years of age, they're talking about these things as if they almost have feelings, almost sentient. So I think there's a misconception of the properties of a physical object. They're giving it almost all these animate properties. They're what we say anthropomorphizing an inanimate thing. So they kind of treat these things as if there's something special about them. Now, any of you who have been parents who've had children with these objects will know immediately that the one thing about these things is you can't replace them with an identical copy. I know many parents who have tried to do it and it just doesn't work, okay? The kids will notice there's something slightly different, doesn't quite smell right, but that's all. It's as if there's something inside the object which is unique and irreplaceable. So we began a series of studies to investigate this. Oh, by the way, this is a very fetching picture of a wanted poster for, this is Laurel's mouse, which went missing in Bristol last summer. And her mother was so distressed, she started to put up all these pictures around the park. Now, I actually phoned her number up about a month ago to find out whatever happened to Mouse. Mouse never turned up. But the beautiful part of the story is that someone else saw the picture and had a granny who was an expert knitter. So she produced an exact copy of Mouse and gave it to Laurel. But of course, it wasn't Mouse. And so Laurel never reattached it again. So anyway, we wanted to investigate this idea that there's something over and beyond the physical aspect of an object which makes it irreplaceable. And to do that, we showed them the copying machine. Okay? It's a scientific-looking machine of 2 boxes which have lights and buzzers and dials and so forth. And we brought the child into the lab. There were 3 to 5-year-olds. And we opened them up and showed that the box is empty. And then we put a toy in the first box. And we closed it up. And then I activated and I spoke a whole lot of scientific mumbo-jumbo, and I activated the box and it made a noise, and then after a couple of seconds, the other box by itself just seemed to come alive and activate. We then opened up the boxes, and lo and behold, there are 2 exactly identical objects. And the children believed that this really was like a photocopier for objects. They were convinced this machine could copy. So the question is, if you believe that this can copy any physical aspect of an object, what happens when it's a sentimental object? So we had two groups of children, those who just had their favorite toys, and those who had these attached